Hey everybody, and welcome to another video. We're gonna go over this video about a couple of questions that I got on the channel, which are related to errors that are happening on 24.10 or 24.04, like how comfortable it is to play on Ubuntu or to use Ubuntu in general, especially everything on the 2024 year. Okay, I'm gonna go over that in a more objectively transparent way. Okay, you know that I'm for Ubuntu, but I will mention everything that I've gone through or the past year or maybe 2 years. Okay, I'll I'll wrap this video super fast, and I'll also mention the things that I've done to lower or eliminate the problems that I've been having. So right now I'm in 24.10. Right now I'm in 24.10. That's something that you gotta take into consideration. Here's my hardware. Um, I got a bunch of RAM there, space, motherboard, 2410, that CPU, and an NVIDIA card. Okay, I'm running on GNOME 47 with the X11, not Wayland, X11. So take all this into consideration for what I'm about to mention. Let's start. So I was on 24.04, everything was working beautifully there, and I migrated to 24.10 for several testing reasons. The things that I found over a more or less a week and a half of staying on Wayland, because I wanted to force myself to stay on Wayland. But after a week and a half, I was not. We're talking 11 to 12 days of Wayland testing, a lot every day. I wasn't able to stay there, so I moved to X11. What did I find out in Wayland or using 2410 on Wayland? Probably 2404 also gets these issues. Um, is that I'm unable to use Flameshot. So Flameshot is like a screenshot recorder that's really fast. I just press print, for example. I do this. I can press the C and then just highlight something here. I can press the A and can just something like that. I can type text here and make it big and big and big and change the color if I wanted to. Okay, we can do that. And then just Control C. I can just Control C and copy that and put it somewhere. Okay, or Control S and save the file. I can send that immediately to Google Chrome, Firefox, Telegram, all that. Flameshot is like an asset for me, for work, mainly for work. And trust me, I use Flameshot probably, and I'm not exaggerating, between 40 and 100 times a day. That's how critical it is for me. And screen recorders, the screen recorder that I use is, GPU screen recorder for the team meetings that I do, Scrum meetings, and for clients and stuff like that. That's also critical. So those two are critical for me. And everything that I'm mentioning here, it's not compatibility related issues. It's usability related issues, which is a topic that I address a lot. That's very critical and important because it affects the user directly. So usability issues in my particular case are the fact that I can't use Flameshot. That's just a killer. By the way, if you're using Flameshot, you just happen to paste on Google Chrome, it doesn't work, for example, or Telegram, click it, go to configuration, go to general, and depending if you're using Flameshot on Snap or Flameshot as a Debian version, this one needs to be enabled or disabled. That's all that you gotta do. So if you're in Snap, I think this needs to be like this. And if you're on the Debian version, you gotta enable it. That's all that you gotta do. After that, you should be able to copy paste without issues. And obviously, select the launch startup, which I already did it. Um, I don't know why it shows like that. I think I'm starting it manually through the startup applications. But anyway, things that I suffered on Wayland were those. I wasn't able to effectively tell the apps, hey, yeah, keep the, because every time I open Flameshot, it told me, hey, this needs permissions. I would say yes, remember the permissions, and then every time I open it again, it asks me for that thing again. On NVIDIA settings, that's crucial. It didn't look like this. I wasn't able to um, see the OpenGL settings, anything here. Not even configure the thermals and basically anything. I wasn't able, like it looks very small. Like there's only 3 or 4 things here and it looks broken, and that's because I was on Wayland. And NVIDIA settings is made for XOR, for XOR, for X11. Okay, so if you just happen to have an NVIDIA card and you install the latest drivers and you see the thing missing, everything there, that means that literally would indicate that you're on Wayland. So the solution for that is all the things that I'm putting down here. Okay, I'm gonna go over in a second. Now on Wayland compared to X11, on both 2404 and especially 2410, the games were crashing with they were crashing more, and they were crashing with unique errors that I've never seen before. So I can tell you Dead Space crashed, what, Hogwarts Legacy crash, Counter-Strike 2 crash with weird errors that I've never seen before. Slime Rancher crashed. I didn't play Overwatch at that moment, but I don't know if it would have crashed. The Cave crashed. Um, and there's others. There's others that crash. I didn't play any of the Hitman games during that. Spider-Man crash. Yeah, that one I do remember. So something to take into consideration there for the crash. The amount of crashes were just crazy, crazy on Wayland. And then Steam crashed. So let me put this into perspective. Steam for me on X11 crashed once in 2 years. In 2 years. On Wayland, it crashed probably twice a day, every day, almost every time that I use it on that 11 to 12 days that I tested it. Okay, so a weekend and a couple of days more. It was horrible. So I was like, what the hell is happening? I was blaming Ubuntu 24.10. The moment that I changed from Wayland to X11, the crashes stopped. It wasn't crashing. On GNOME 47, for example, things comparing this to 46.2, I think it was the one that I left on 2404, Ubuntu 2404. On GNOME 47, there was a misbehaving and you're gonna see why. There was a misbehaving files or Nautilus issue that if you copy files, it would just freeze and crash. If you dragged it to the borders like this, like that corner hotspot kind of thing that existed before. Remember that on I forgot the cube effect that we had before years ago. We're talking 10 years ago or something like that. They had this effect. So this is very cool to organize your screen quickly. That you drag a window to one of the corners and then you get four max. Anyway, if you drag it there so many times, the thing would just crash. Okay, Spen was not working, and there were other things. Okay, the GNOME session crashes were happening more often, but and the scene crashes were happening more often. By the way, I have it like this because I was trying to figure out which ones to blame. At the end of the day, these two were related to Wayland only crashes. I just put them there because they were happening on GNOME 47, but they happen when you're using Wayland. Again, specifically in my case, don't assume that this will happen to you. You will need to test it out. If it's not happening, great. It would be great to know the type of hardware that you have. If it's happening, at least this video will help you a little bit in regards to how to handle the situation. So one of the things, and this is basically 2 years of compilation of optimizations that I do for my channel and my hardware, was the first one, obviously changing from Wayland to X11. So the quickest way, and the way that I'll be putting all this in the description, by the way. The quickest way is to edit this file here. Let's just open that one here. Do know that, and some people might not know this, but on Linux you have two ways of pasting stuff and copying stuff. One is, for example, if I grab this and press Control C, another one is highlighting. And I'm going to show you what I mean. If I press, by the way, to paste on a console, you press Shift Control V. See? But you can also press the middle mouse button. See? So when you highlight something, when you highlight something, if you press the middle mouse button, pastes that. If I still press Shift Control V, it pastes whatever I copy with Control C. So on Linux, in case you didn't know, you got two ways of copying stuff. You got two ways of pasting stuff. So anyway, coming back here, let's just copy this here. I just by highlighting it. And let's go there. And to change from Wayland to X11, in case you wanted to, by default, this comes like this. Okay, it's commented. We're gonna comment that out. So it's WaylandEnable false. There was another issue I forgot on Ubuntu 24.04, at least that it happened to me, where I was unable to automatic log into the account because then GNOME had some issue and I had to reboot the GNOME session every time. So the solution for that was just to put this on false, not to log in automatically, just put it on false. After you've done these changes, you reboot and you should be able to be on X11 at that time, okay, instead of Wayland. Great. You are now using X11. Then we have, this is a compilation of, I would say, probably 2 to 3 months of hardware testing this specifically for Steam, specifically for FPS values, copying stuff, the responsive time of Windows, Linux in general, Ubuntu in this case in general, etc., etc. So it was basically a test for several months over a lapse of 2 years to know how fast I could make the computer without weird things happening. So that ended up on this amount of list of parameters that we have for the kernel. Do note there's a video about this, another video on the channel. It's about kernel parameters and stuff like that. But the specific one that I want to talk about is this one. So if we go to GRUB here, and let's go there, and you can see it here all the way to the right. But everything here is related to specific optimizations in regards to either performance, in general performance, or FPS or NVIDIA related optimizations. So mitigations, for example, that will improve the overall performance of the whole thing because you don't need the mitigations there. Obviously, this is for desktop users, not a server. This is NVIDIA related. All of these three were related to crashes on Steam or related to games crashing on Steam. I remove all this and I don't have those crashes anymore at all. I think this one was related to just one game that needed that like that for some reason. Again, this was on 2404, not on 2410. I still have it there. Same for all the factors that are here. One that actually I know that improved the performance on 2404 was this one, which I think that's a default on 2410 now. But all this is performance related. For NVIDIA cases, you got this one and this last one here, which solve crashing issues and basically specific issues with NVIDIA that are happening on 550, 555, and 560. I was able to test them all three on 2404 and 2410 just in case. Again, with my hardware, this could not be happening to you too. If it happens, then now you have a solution. Now, for the misbehaving files app on GNOME 47, this solved basically everything. So we go to environment here, and there you go. There you have it. I just put that there, reboot the computer, and I haven't seen file crash for a week and something already. And before it was crashing because I use it a lot. We're talking probably every 2 hours, something like that. Now I haven't seen it crash anymore. This stuff here is more for the NVIDIA settings. So you know that when you have this and you try to save to X configuration, it doesn't work and blah, blah, blah. That's what all this is for. So just you copy this baby here. We highlight the whole thing. We paste it here. You run it. And then we do this part here too. Okay. And that you put this parameter here, which is not there. That's why I'm putting it here. Needs root rights, exactly like that. Underscore equals, and reboot, and that should magically resolve the problems here with NVIDIA settings not properly working. By the way, you need the cool bits there too. I forgot about that. So the cool bits are actually here on X11, X. What am I typing here? What am I doing? Sorry. So let me go down here, and we got this cool bits. It doesn't matter where you put it, okay? In regards to this section, this whole section, you just need to put it there somewhere. I put 24 because there's several things that I use it for, but that cool bits will allow you to have the thermal settings here. Well, thermal settings, the overclocking thing, and maybe other stuff that I haven't noticed, but especially this one. So if I enable GPU fan settings here, let me show you. Let me actually show you live that you can actually manipulate this. While that's happening, and you can see the RPMs growing here, do know that if you have a video card that has three fans, fan 0 is the first one that's handled there on the left side, I think, of the card. And then fan 1 is every other fan on that video card. So it's something to take into consideration. So you can see that it's going to go down, go down, go down. I've seen cases where if I leave it like this, I actually go down 10 degrees. I'm just going to leave it running there for a second while we do everything else. And this might get to 32. I don't know. Okay, while we check that, here's a DMESG related permission. So in my particular case, I do a lot of this. I do a lot of DMESG, okay, to check what's happening with the system, etc., etc., etc. I don't want to be typing sudo. I don't want to be typing or sudo exclamation, to go back to the last command that I put there. So what I do is this, go down here, and I put this one here, kernel.dmesh underscore restrict 0. If this doesn't work for some reason, that's why we got this other one here, okay? So we do that D, the 10, the kernel hardening, and you would see this here with a 1, by the way. You put a 0 there, and you should be able to test it. How do you test it? Just type dmesh without the sudo, and that's how you'll know. You gotta refresh, or you gotta reset the reboot the system control there. That's it. But just refresh after you reboot the computer after you've done all this, so you don't have to reboot it so many times. Now, all this is just for me and the things that I do, and I'm just optimizing my experience, the usability of the experience with NVIDIA cards, and the usability with the Nautilus or files or whatever you want to put there, and just optimizing my hardware in general. Let me see what. Okay, you can see that it actually went down 9 degrees or whatever it was there before. Okay, stop it there because it's making a lot of noise. Um, This is Steam related to the shader processing. What do you mean? Well, when you open Hogwarts Legacy or um what was this, a game, Autumn Heart something, I forgot the the name of that game. Give me a second. There's multiple games that they have shader compilation with it when you actually start the game. There's another one that has a very heavy Hogwarts Legacy. I know it has it. Dead Space. I know it has it. Um, Heart something. I forgot the name of the game. Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart has it. I don't know if Starfield has it. I don't know if High on Life has it. Stray. Well, any game that has the shader compilation that you're forced into, this will help you a lot. So by default, I found out that it uses one thread or two threads, something like that. So I started testing out my theory with it. This specifically this line, by the way. That's the only line that you're gonna put there. Okay. So let's clear this. I paste that there. Boom, we do that. If we go to that specific file, yeah, def, you're only gonna see that there. Voila. Okay, great. So I put there 24. Now I tested 4, I tested 8, I tested 16, I tested 24, I tested 32, which is the maximum that I have. Um, and I was able, literally able to see the time that it took for that specific game to process the shaders go down and down and down. With 24, instead of, just to give you a rough estimate there, Hogwarts Legacy, no, Atomic Heart. Atomic Heart would always take something like 2 minutes. At 24, it took like 10 seconds. Just to give you an idea. Hogwarts Legacy, it took basically nothing now. Dead Space, same thing. Like it went down by a lot, a lot. So loading the game, it's more easy for me. And here are my suggestions. So basically, that number, that 24, that specifically this 24 that we're putting here, it's up to you. The threads that you have on your CPU. Obviously, the best case scenario here is an AMD. You know that I forgot the name of the AMD Threadrippers that I don't know, they have like 64, something like that, 128 threads, so you can go crazier. But basically, just run it between 25 and 75% of the total threads, depending on the load that you have on the computer at that time, or what are you're using the computer when you start the game. So, like in my case, I have 32, so I can use 24, but I could have used 8 or 16 because maybe I'm doing something on at the database level, MySQL or something like that. Um, so I use 24, and once I'm actually able to see huge performance improvements in my particular case. Now, notes to other feedbacks that I've gotten. If you're using if you're putting the games on Steam on an NTFS, New Technology File System for Windows, or FAT32, and for some weird rare cases XFS also fails, I don't know why, or you're putting an external drive that's basically USB 2, you're just looking for trouble. Like you're either going to have permission issues, corruptions, or really slow loading times, saving times, and everything like that. So my suggestion is not just do this, but also try to put the games on an SSD or NVMe, because that will immediately affect the study of the game, the processing of the game, the loading of save games, saving them, even the loading scenes. So this is just me testing, but for example, if I grab Dead Space is the game, the remake, because that game sucks with the loading of the scenes. But if I put that one on the NVMe and I put it on the SSD, I was actually able to see something like a 50% more mm, stuttering, or the period of the stuttering would take longer. With an SSD that I got here, or I had here because I put it on the other computer, that was really slow and really old too. So I was just curious to see. That's comparing the SSD, a Samsung 840, I think it's Pro, versus an NVMe from Western Digital, the latest one. I forgot what the number was. Well, actually, let's just do a disk, and we'll be able to see it here. Yeah, this thing. So SN850X, that one. So that there was a difference in the stuttering, in the time of the stuttering, is what I'm trying to say. Latest driver or kernel does not mean best performance. Everybody that's play around with the latest or something for a very long time, like minimum 2 years, you'll know that this is not true. If you get the latest driver or the latest kernel, you're not getting the latest best of something. It just means that you're a tester of it. That's all. Because it could affect you in a positive way, but it also could affect you in a very negative, oh my god, it's running slower now, way. So remember the cases when people went from the kernel 5.9 to the 6.2, I think it was, or 6.4. Same for the 6.5 up to the 6.9 issues that they were having for certain things. All those got resolved, of course, but or most of them. But That's the case that I'm trying to make here. So you got all these optimizations, all this stuff. You can test it out. Now you know how my computer works and everything regarding the computer. And now you know that also the issues that it had on Ubuntu 24.04 and 24.10 currently. And I gotta say, after I did all this, I I don't have issues with 24.10 right now. I've been playing around. You seen the latest videos that I uploaded, recorded the game, didn't have any issues, all that. Not only that, by submitting, because on Ubuntu you can submit bug reports. By the way, the bug reports are Ubuntu bug, and then you like type the name of the app or something, Google Chrome, whatever, and then that takes care of the whole process of reporting the bug on the Ubuntu Launchpad for bugs. But I also found out about this errors.ubuntu.com. This is amazing. From technical point of view, this is just amazing. So I went to Ubuntu 24.10, just 24.10. I can see that from launch till now, okay, from when people started testing it till now, you can see that it had a big jump there and it's gone down about 50% there with reports, new reports in this case. And this is just amazing because if you compare this to the peaks that have happened, okay, with others, especially with 2404, it doesn't mean that the 2404 was worse. It's just that it had more testers. That's it. If we go here, you can see that what I mean. Okay, so we got 1.1 there. If you go to 2410, spikes before when it launched, it was about 0.7 there, 0.8. So that's great, and the fact that it's being tackled by a lot of Ubuntu developers, awesome ones. Because, for example, in my case, I reported a GSD problem, which Foss Freedom was also having, and others, and they reply in less than 24 hours. That's, I mean, come on. You don't see that in other platforms, frameworks, etc., etc., etc. Sometimes, in Ubuntu, they're quick. They're quick. Okay. So something to take into consideration. I congratulate the whole Ubuntu team for this. When I saw this, I was like, it took me time to process the amazing process of error tracking that they have here internally. So just kudos on that. So with that said, if you want to test drive 2410 and you have just happen to have an NVIDIA card and you're having any of the issues that I mentioned, here are several solutions that you can play around with. If you're tired of waiting 10 years for shader compilation for specific games with Steam, here's another trick. If you do a lot of DMESG and you don't want to type sudo, there you go. If you want the nvidia-X settings to actually save properly and do stuff, there you go. Do note that if you don't see this exactly like this, that means that you are on Wayland. You gotta change yourself to X11 for it to work. If you're having weird crashes with the 550, 555, and 560, this is the baby to go to. Why does it say Vidia? Whoops. There you go. So this is the solution. And if you want the best performance for your computer, at least testing each of this gradually. Um, Here's my settings, which, and when I say my settings, I mean the gravity mark um, leaderboard. You can see with those settings that I have, here's that same computer. Last time I tested it on 2404. Okay, same settings. It's the same things. Obviously without this one because I wasn't having this issue on 2404, but everything else is X11 with everything else here, with the exception of the enable GPU firmware. Okay, and this thing here. But I did use this for the fan speed and all that. It didn't apply here, but just to let you know that I did have that enabled. With that said, if you set this to single GPUs, you can see that a Linux computer just beat every Windows one. Okay, so that's the performance I was getting, and this is the hack the trick that I was using. All these parameters. That was it. So hope this video helps you in a lot of levels. Lets you know that you can confident try to use 24.10, 24.04. There's Ubuntu, a huge Ubuntu staff working on improving the performance. By the way, I started gathering this when on the same day that 24.10 launched, okay? And before I had other issues, and they're gone. With the updates that I gotten in the last, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, I forgot. Um, they're gone. They fix a bunch of other things that I was suffering on a day-to-day, daily basis. There, I don't have them anymore, and I would suspect that in a month from now, you don't even need to apply some of these things anymore. Those I mean, it would be, I mean, mainly like this one and stuff like that. Note that for future reference, NVIDIA, GNOME, um, and other Ubuntu also, they're all working on Wayland related optimizations. So we most likely will see that all the things that I'm mentioning right now about game crashes, theme crashes, NVIDIA settings issues will go away. This is just October 20th, 2024, to take with a grain of salt, and that's it. Please subscribe to the channel, like, join, and I don't know the other thing that happens on YouTube. Okay, take care. Bye.